Hi, welcome to Impact. I'm your host, Jeri Perkins. On today's show, we have a young lady who was honored by Princeton University for her work with race, poverty, and education. She leads a global education initiative to turn high school dropouts into college drop-ins. Helen, welcome to the show.
Hi.
So Helen, you just graduated from Prospect High School in Saratoga, California, and in the fall you're attending Santa Clara University on a full ride scholarship, so congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So Helen, you've blossomed as a global leader with your education initiative. Can you tell us how your trip to Ethiopia when you were younger served as a life-changing experience that motivated you to start your nonprofit organization, Giving Hope to Kids Like Me, at the age of 8?
Oh yeah, of course. So growing up, I kind of grew up sheltered like a lot of American kids. But I think what was different for me is when I grew up, I went to a private school. I was around wealthier kids all the time. And when I went to Ethiopia, I saw the contrast. I saw that education wasn't as like the first priority for a lot of students and families, especially in the rural side. And growing up, my grandma was the one who raised me because my parents were working full time, and they're both Ethiopian immigrants. So she always taught me, number one, education is important, and number two, giving back to your people and staying humble is important. So those values always stayed close to me. So when I did go to Ethiopia and I saw these kids, I saw kids knocking on car windows, trying to sell candy, just washing the car as you're kind of stuck in traffic, trying to make money. And it was just a wake-up call for me, because I asked my mom, are they just the bad kids? Are they ditching school trying to make money? She told me, no, they're the breadwinners of the family. Yes. So when I found that out, it kind of like struck me, because I thought of my grandmother, and I really thought about, my experiences in school and how that wasn't fair. Because I knew, like, without education, you can't be anything, or anything that makes like a decent amount of money for success. So I decided right then and there that I had to do something about it, so I did.
Right. I completely relate, coming from a family that values education. It truly is a pathway to promise. And now your parents are from Ethiopia. You were born here in San Jose, California. So your close ties to Ethiopia, obviously you know and have seen like you say, the difference in access to educational opportunities and the quality of education that the country provides, especially in women and girls. So how do you, coming from seeing that back to the United States, how do you allow that to help you start your global initiative in the Bay Area, Girls Lead Forward?
Okay, so I was doing my Ethiopian project, and I did it with the help of my family and stuff like that. And when I was doing it, I just wanted other young people to have the same experiences that I had, because I did the school supplies, and I did that until about like 8th grade. And then when I started high school, I just said, you know what, a lot of these people are still sheltered and they don't know, and I really wanted people to have the opportunity to not just sign up and go on like a mission or service trip, but actually be part of the leadership and see how it not only feels, but see like the direct impact that your hard work does. So I teamed up with some girls, and we started doing that, and we're trying to do girls leadership programs in Ethiopia to promote, women in school and in STEM, because, here growing up in the Silicon Valley, science, technology, engineering, and math is the hub. Yeah. So I wanted to bring that there to the rural parts to, give students the opportunity to be exposed with hands-on learning as well as feminism. Right. So that was my objective.
Right. So Girls Lead Forward here in the Bay Area, you've touched on how you allowed that to plant a seed to give back to Ethiopia and help out them as well. So you talk about empowerment. How have you, through this initiative that you started with Girls Lead Forward, empowered yourself to help empower other young women and youth in the Bay Area and beyond to just really understand the importance of having a quality education and how that can pave the way for their opportunities in life?
Mm-hmm. So I did this through different paths. So I worked with other organizations. Mm-hmm. Girls Lead is the one that I started with a group of girls, friends of mine. Right. But I worked with the NAACP as well, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Yes. And through that organization, I was the president for the Youth Council, as you know. And I was the education chair for NAACP California and Hawaii region for the Youth and College Division for the 2 states. And through those platforms, I was able to have initiatives and speak publicly on stuff like that. So it was a really great opportunity between the two. I had a lot of access. So that's how I managed.
Yes, and I've seen, being on the NAACP Youth Council with you, I've seen how your passion for community outreach extends beyond education. You know, it extends into your passion for civil rights. And how has that passion allowed you to get involved in the Black Lives Matter movement?
So for me, I'm really passionate about justice in a broad sense. So I care about, women's issues, feminism.
Yes.
I care about climate issues. I care about, Black Lives Matter, police brutality, all of those things, civic engagement, all of those things. And I didn't specifically work with Black Lives Matter, like the teams, but I did host when Michael Brown died, my team, we did the Students for Ferguson March, which was 300 plus people. We started in front of MLK Library and we had a peaceful march. My team, we had rules. We made sure nobody jumped into the street and disrupted traffic. There was no loitering, there was no spray paint, there was no breaking windows. Like, it was very peaceful. It was a daytime march, and I thought that was like the beauty of it, because we had the program. We got people rallied up in front of MLK, passed out posters and stuff that we made. We told them the rules, and then we did the march, we came back, and then people were able to share their feelings, and it was poetry, and it was really meant for youth to really, kind of become woke, quote unquote, So I exposed a lot of people, and I think that, I don't want to say that this was the reason, but I think that protest or march that my team and I organized in San Jose really ignited a lot of the youth. Twitter became more active, and the hashtag Black Lives Matter and anti-police brutality, not anti-police, but anti-police brutality really started, trending, after that event. And I was really happy, because now, even though I'm not organizing protests anymore, other people are doing it. I passed the torch, so I think that was like the most beautiful thing so far from my experience.
That's amazing. And you mentioned the Michael Brown shooting, and as a student at Lincoln University in Missouri, I definitely, as soon as I stepped out on campus as a freshman, was impacted by that. Yes, he's a part of the Black community, but being so close to Ferguson, Lincoln's located in the capital, Jefferson City, I felt that a movement was taking place, marching to the Capitol, hands up, don't shoot. This was truly just a national movement that people of color, Black and brown, were uniting, and people who weren't of color, everyone was trying to come together for this cause. So I definitely just am amazed at the efforts you have done for this movement in the Mike Brown case and beyond. We're definitely speaking out to unite. So that's very powerful. Now, with the shootings of Alton Sterling and Shreveport, Louisiana, and Philando Castile, and the Dallas officer shootings, there's a lot of conflict that's going on, and racial issues, systematic racism and oppression. As a young civil rights activist, how do you recommend that we handle these issues as a society?
I think peace is the best way to go, know, and although I was one of the people who organized protests and was very active in organizing and stuff like that, I really do think on an individual level, because not everybody can do that. Or not everybody has the resources to do that, at least. I think on an individual level, it's about how you carry yourself. As a young woman in high school, going into college, I'm not much of a partier. I'm not I carry myself with a certain expectation, and I think that as women, and even men as well, if you carry yourself that way, you break the stereotype, and I think that's the way to go, because if there's no stereotype and if there's no stigma against African Americans and people of color in general, then police brutality will kind of fade away on its own, because America will stop seeing us as threats and they'll start seeing us as people. So I think that's my big advice. The marches are great and they show unity and it's beautiful and everything, but if you really want a humongous change, it has to come from individual lifestyle changes, and that's my advice. Right,
and everyone has an issue in terms of how to handle the conflict, in terms of what do we do, and it's like education, what you're passionate about, is something that I feel personally that can definitely spark an interest for us as people of color to become the law enforcement, to become the police officers, to become the doctors and educators that get out here and use our platform to start this movement, to start this discussion, especially in the media, to let people see that this is an issue, even though it doesn't directly affect them, that an issue for one is an issue for all. I mean, do you
Just
believe?
because it's not happening to you doesn't mean it's not happening.
Doesn't mean that it's not happening.
Yeah.
I mean, we have great leaders before us. You know, there was Gandhi in India who started in South Africa, the apartheid. There was Nelson Mandela in South Africa. There was Martin Luther King. We have all these great leaders who have laid a blueprint for us to follow in terms of how to handle these issues. Do you believe that we need to go back to the blueprint? Even our founder of the NAACP, W.E.B. Du Bois. What are your thoughts on his platform in terms of handling issues that occur in Black communities within Black communities and extending our knowledge to society as a whole to handle these broader issues such as systematic oppression and racism?
So actually last summer I was interested in that exact question, and I did research at Stanford University's Clayman Institute, and my topic was, what is the difference between activism and the movement back in the 60s and prior to that versus now? And right now we're in what we like to call horizontal leadership. That means that everybody has equal say, because if you're on Twitter, you say what you want, and there's like so many different perspectives and opinions, and there's not one solid message that the whole #Black Lives Matter movement is sending, Whereas when you have vertical leadership, you have like a hierarchy. So there's like the people on the ground who do things, but there's somebody at the top or a team at the top who's, delegating these issues and like delegating like the plan, and there's actual people meeting together. You say, okay, let's meet up at 5 o'clock at Johnny Rockets, and we're there, But whereas like now it's kind of like people are just saying what they want to say, and then you say, but people aren't really coming out unless it's like a major protest here in Oakland or something like that. Nobody wants to do like the covert planning and all of that kind of stuff. So in that sense, if we were to go back to our roots, it's kind of like you have to remember, just because we have social media and everybody's like has like their own platforms and stuff, there has to be one singular platform of leadership, because otherwise it's not going to work. It's going to fall because it's too horizontal. There's not it's too much base and not enough tower.
Right. Very true. So we know that education and civil rights are two separate issues, but they're issues that are intertwined, because our rights as people being guaranteed plays such a huge role in us advancing throughout society. So Helen, we thank you for being on the show. And as Helen says, when girls move forward, the world moves forward. Helen, thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure, and we wish you the best in your future endeavors at Santa Clara. And we know you are going to just continue to make global changes in such a positive role model for youth. And Impact with Jeri Perkins would love to honor you with the Impact Summer Honoree Award. So,
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Of course.
It was a pleasure being on the show.
Thank you for coming. Our Impact Summer Special is now over. Tune in to future episodes of Impact on JCTV this fall. The Impact team would like to thank NBC Bay Area News Production and Community Affairs Departments, as well as Associated Press Reporter of the Year, Robert Honda, for their mentorship and help with this production. Remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Impact with Jeri Perkins, and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Impact with Jeri Perkins, and on Twitter at Impact with JP. Until next time, stay blessed.